Kumon, North America, at 203 Middlesex Turnpike, as advertised. The applicant here. Please introduce yourself and give us an overview of your proposal.
That's fine.
Okay. My name is Carolyn Parker, 3 Loring Ave, Worcester, Massachusetts. I'm here representing Kumon. Basically, Kumon is doing a re-imaging of all their signs. So they currently have a 8-foot by 4-foot sign there, and we're proposing a 7-foot 2 by 1-foot 1. It's an odd building where you consider where the Kumon is, which is actually on the street, to be the second floor, because the driveway goes down, and then there's, another part of the building below. But there are no signs down there, so we're reducing, in the bylaws, it says I can only have a 6-foot wide sign if I'm on a second floor. If I was on the first floor, which is what I consider the road, you could have a sign as wide as the building. So we're actually reducing the width and square footage. It's pretty straightforward.
All right. Joe, start with you. Questions?
No questions.
John?
I'm good.
Jim?
I'm sorry, what were the sign dimensions again, existing and proposed?
8-foot by 4-foot, which is 32 square feet, and then 7-foot 2 by 1-foot 1, which is maybe 9 square feet? I don't know.
Okay,
My-
I'm good.
My only question is on the lumens per square foot. Do you know what that is, or?
I did just include us, at nighttime.
Yeah.
We can't really tell that because it all depends on what's around there and, you know what I mean?
Okay, we usually just put a requirement that it's no more than 90. I wouldn't think that it would
Sure, I
be
mean, some,
if we
I
need to
don't-
measure it, yeah.
yeah. I mean-
Okay. All right. This is a public hearing, so I'll open this up to the public. If there's anyone here to speak in favor or against this proposal, let's come up to the microphone. All right, seeing none, I will take a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? 4-0.
With a special permit, is there an appeal period and all that? And I have to record it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do I record it or you record it?
You record it.
We still have to vote.
Oh, sorry.
I just closed.
I was getting overzealous there.
Public hearing. Okay, I will take a motion from someone on Kumon. Yeah, this is the plan if you want to reference it.
Make a proposal to approve the sign for Kumon as referenced on plan dated March 3rd, 2021, project number 445209-2B, lumens not to exceed 90 per square foot.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Now, yay. No.
Opposed? All right, 4-0. You're all set. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is a continued hearing for 54 Francis Wyman Road. The applicant could please come up. Before we start, at the last hearing, the public hearing was closed, so I'm going to ask for a motion to reopen the public hearing so that we can take further comment.
Make a motion to reopen public hearing.
Second?
Motion is made and seconded to reopen the public hearing for 54 Francis Wyman Road. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Okay, if you could please introduce yourselves and give us an update for where we are since the last hearing.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Thomas Murphy, representing the applicant, who's sitting with me at the desk, Shane Manfred. Mr. Manfred has this property under agreement. In the audience tonight is a member of the family from whom he's buying it. This was a request for variance to split the subject lot into 2 lots both having more than 20,000 square feet, but neither having 100-foot of frontage on Francis Wyman Road. They'd each have about 40-foot of frontage. Just to refresh the board's memory, at the previous hearing, I pointed out that there's sufficient square footage on this parcel of land so that my client could construct a cul-de-sac. And the cul-de-sac would create sufficient frontage for 2 lots. So this property could be split in that manner, which would obviously be more expensive for my client, but would also, I would submit, be detrimental to the neighborhood. There's a lot more impervious surface. Putting in a big paved cul-de-sac for the 2 houses could certainly be construed as overkill. At last week's hearing, one of the abutters, Mr. Healy, who lives to the house to the right of the subject property, as you're looking at it from the street, raised some concerns about intrusions on his privacy and headlights from automobiles traveling back and forth to the rear lot. So the board asked my client to produce some information regarding the location, the proposed location of the house on the back lot, any proposed screening that my client would be willing to construct. And they also asked that we showed Mr. Healy's house, just to give the board a little perspective on where the 2 houses would be. So this evening I gave to the clerk, and I think she distributed a plan that was produced by my client's surveyor, which shows the proposed house design for the rear lot. The house is oriented away from Mr. Healy's so that it's pointing closer. For the board's information, the lot to the left of our lot is the Francis Wyman house, which is an old historical house. So he oriented the house so that there'd be no windows pointing towards the Healy property. The area of the house on the right, as it's shown, is going to be the garage, so there won't be any windows or anything from that way. He has some proposed screening that you can see. He has it labeled as either fencing or evergreens. He's amenable to whatever people think would be an appropriate screening mechanism. And if you, it's not exactly surveyed, but it's approximately 200 feet from Mr. Healy's house to the proposed new house. So that's the information that we were asked to present this evening, and so that's what we brought with us. Like I said, Mr. Anderson, whose family is the seller of the property, is here this evening, and I think he would probably like to say something. But, Mr. Chairman, those are the items we were asked to bring forward, so that we have, obviously, if there's any questions or if there's anything further the board needs from us, just let me know.
All right, thank you. Jim, we'll start with you. Any comments?
So what is this, Tom?
That, when the surveyor went out, he just took a photo of, from where the new house or the proposed back house would be, down towards the area of Mr. Healy's house. Mr. Healy, when he was here last time, indicated that there is natural foliage in the summer, and this substantiates that. He said, however, in the winter, in the fall, after the leaves come down, not so much. So the surveyor took that picture, so I just included it just to give everybody some perspective of the view. But clearly, these are not evergreen trees, so obviously when you get to December or January, those leaves are down.
So those are beyond the proposed evergreens?
Yes, yeah. Many of those aren't even on my client's property. That's just,
Yeah.
there's a lot between Mr. Healy's property and our property that's shown as Assessors Map 15, Lot 12.2. That's a vacant lot of land. There was some talk last time of a pond back there where kids used to play hockey. That's, from what I understand, that's towards the back of that, over the Billerica line. But that's just a stretch of vacant land there. I think at one point there was going to be potentially a road going back out back there, and it just never got developed. There's a pond there, so I think there's some wetlands
Is
there.
that town property, Tom?
I don't believe so.
No, it's private property.
Yeah, but I didn't check it, to be honest with you, but it's been like that forever. It's just wet, and it goes back to a pond. So that is, that's just vacant land.
The other question is, the house in front, where is the driveway for that going to be located?
On the front lot,
Yes.
We're keeping it as the existing driveway that's there right now.
what's that?
The existing driveway that's there.
My client indicates it'll be pretty much the existing driveway which is there. I think visually it kind of goes up the middle of that. There's a 40-foot entryway off of Francis Wyman. Kind of just goes straight up, and the house will be up in the area where that dotted line is the building envelope after factoring in the 15-foot setbacks and the 25-foot setback on the front. So presumably that house will be back towards the rear where that envelope is the widest, and the driveway kind of goes right up the middle.
Okay, thank you.
All right, John?
I don't have any questions right now. I want to hear from the public.
All right, Joe?
Yeah, I'd like to hear from the public as well.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. I wasn't here at the last meeting. I apologize. I would have asked these questions last time, but, so, at the last meeting, it was indicated that there's some wetlands and a pond back in this area.
Yeah, it's on the neighboring lot. It's not on our lot, but it's the neighboring lot that kind of looks like it funnels out as it goes back. From what I'm told, the pond is at the rear of that, and it kind of overlaps into the Billerica property.
Has that been surveyed in any way to confirm that none of the wetlands is on this lot?
Yes. That lot has not been surveyed. Our lot has been surveyed, and there was no wetlands. But it's clearly going to be within 100 feet, so we're going to need orders and conditions when we go back in there.
Right.
But the engineering that we received shows that there's no wetlands back there that are on our land.
But they did go and look for wetlands at this level?
Yeah.
Okay. The reason I ask is because that would change the upland
Right.
ratio
No,
that you have.
The square footage that we have is all uplands.
All of it. The other question that I have too, if you're passing out information, is I believe there was a sketch that showed the cul-de-sac. Do you have another copy of that
I do.
record?
I do.
And while you're pulling that out, this new plan that you produced that shows the evergreen screening, if the screening's laid out the way that you have it here, where would the driveway be? Because it seems to be right through the middle of the setbacks to be, so.
Well, the driveway isn't subject to setbacks.
I know the driveway wouldn't be, so it would be right along one of the lot lines
So the
then?
way this shows it would go right along the lot line, essentially thread the needle between those two.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it says, all right, 15-foot wide drive.
Yeah.
So would this be one shared driveway for both, or? would
No,
they-
there would be, as this is configured here, that 15-foot wide driveway that's shown will get to the back. The front driveway is not actually shown on this plan, but it's existing, and
It's right here.
it goes right,
25 right behind
it goes right in that number 25 where it says the setback for
Yep.
it goes right through there and straight back, and the house is straight back.
Okay, I missed that on the plan here.
And again, the purpose there was to try to keep the driveway as far away from the abutters as we could, so we just pushed it over against the side.
Okay,
There is play in there. If for whatever reason that was an issue with anybody, they could put that driveway anywhere within their property, because the driveway is not subject to setbacks.
okay, that's all I have for now. This is a public hearing, so I'll open it up to the public. If anyone has anyone to say in favor or against this proposal, please come up to the microphone one at a time. We'll give everyone a chance to speak.
Yeah.
Did you want to hear from the favors or?
Anyone that would like to speak?
Yeah. We'll just free up this seat if anybody wants to come up.
Hi, I'm John Wyman from the Francis Wyman Association. Just wanted to stop by and see how the proceedings go. We don't have any problem with the plan that he's showing us. We met with him at the site Saturday, kind of went through what they plan to do. I showed him my concerns about an old stone wall that's on our property that we intend to do some maintenance on, and it's clear from the plans that that's all on our property, and what he's going to do is, we're not going to affect that, so just want to stop by.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter from the public? Yeah, come up to the microphone. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Dan Healy. I appreciate you guys having me today. I'm actually opposing the variance today. Last time I was here, I raised a bunch of concerns about privacy, and I was emailed a picture of the plan where they did turn the house, and I appreciated that, but they also provided you a photo. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it looked like it was taken from behind a tree. I also have some photos to show you that even with all the foliage up, it's still a direct sight right into there. And that barn back there is on the exact other side of their lot line. That's about 10 feet off of my deck. So once this foliage goes down, you
Excuse me, if you don't mind just passing that around so we can see it.
Yep. So in between the two, it's like a little gully where there's a stream running through. So once all those leaves go down, it's a direct view. I believe Mr. Murphy said that in December or January, when the leaves go down, half of those are grapevines, they're gone in September, October. You know, and that's gonna provide that other lot, that second lot, direct views right into my, the 3 windows in the back of my house. My bedroom, my kid's bedroom, and my kitchen window, all of which I've just recently enlarged. Also, I know that applying for a variance, you know, this is my first time ever attending something like this, but I have learned that when you're applying for a variance, it's usually for a hardship, and I'm just wondering what exactly the hardship is for this. It seems for a developer to profit off dividing up a land into 2, you know, plots that don't have enough frontage, sorry.
I don't know if you want to answer that, Tom?
Sure, I'd be happy to. From a hardship standpoint, and I touched on this last time, the hardship under the statute has to be related to the topography of the land or the shape of the lot. The hardship that we'd be claiming here basically is that with the shape of the lot, it's a large lot, it's over 50,000 square feet, but it narrows at the street, so there's the frontage is reduced. As I said, we could put this in by right with a cul-de-sac, which will create the frontage and will also create a large cul-de-sac, taking down foliage and a lot more interruption of the site, and in my opinion, would be aesthetically less pleasing than having a driveway back there. But so the hardship per the statute is the fact that the shape of the lot, which is one of the hardships specifically referenced in the statute, is such that we've got a 51,000 square foot parcel of land, which by the zoning bylaws is sufficient area for two lots, but we don't have the frontage because it narrows at the street. So the hardship is that if we have to create the cul-de-sac in order to do this, there's a financial hardship to my client by doing that, and I would argue there's an aesthetic hardship to the neighbors by having a cul-de-sac inserted where right now there's just, this could be done with a variance and with 2 driveways. And I just feel that's a lot less intrusive aesthetically and a lot less impervious surface. So I would submit that it does meet the hardship requirements of the statute because but for the shape of the lot, we'd be able to get 2 lots in here.
Thank you.
So we're worried about the hardship for a developer. Now, if I have 2 lots of land back to back. If I wanted to get a variance to put a house behind my house, would I get that? you know? And I have 100 feet frontage. I don't understand the hardship on a developer's, you know, from their point of view.
Well, the hardship doesn't have anything necessarily to do with who's applying. It's, do they have a hardship? And one of the requirements for hardship can be a financial hardship. And then we also have to determine whether it's in the benefit of the town to do that or not. So, you know, I'd propose, I'd ask the question of you is, would you prefer to see a plan where there's two driveways, or would you rather see a plan that has a large cul-de-sac sitting right on Francis Wyman and then still having two houses there?
I would prefer not to have two houses on that lot. It's right in, I mean, within direct view of my backyard.
Right.
All my back windows.
But if they have the right to do it, which they do, according to these plans, then, you know, what's the lesser of two evils? You know, that's something that we need to determine, and that's a question that's posed to the board now. I mean, they can do this, according to these plans, they could do it by right. They could meet all the subdivision control laws, all the zoning requirements by putting a circle cul-de-sac right at the edge of the property and then having their driveway still come up. And
Which was recently done also further on Francis Wyman, and it looks terrible. I mean, it looks like there's two townhouses on there.
right.
No cul-de-sac.
So, I mean, those are the things that we need to take into consideration, which, you know, it's, if they have the right to do it, it's hard for the town to say no to it. We can obviously say no to a variance because they're asking for relief from the bylaw.
Right.
But we have to determine what's the better course of action. We have to try to determine that. So that's how we're viewing it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I also, other things I'm worried about still also is where it's wetlands in the back of both properties. They're gonna have to elevate this second house. I know the back of both properties get very, very damp in the rain. You know, where is all this flooding gonna go? Is it gonna go right into my yard?
well, one of the things I know was discussed at the last hearing is that the planning board and the conservation would be reviewing this conservation because it's near the wetlands. That's why I was asking the question too specifically about the wetlands and which lot it was on, because that would have an impact on the zoning. The conservation would look at that, and even if they were just doing two driveways, they would have enough disturbance that they would trigger another evaluation for drainage. So all of that would be reviewed. That's not something we review at this level, but I agree with you, I would want to know that would be reviewed. I wouldn't want to just approve this plan and say, okay, you have two lots, you're all set, you know, go ahead. Which, a plan like this, if they did have the required frontage, it would be, they call it an A&R plan. It's an approval not required, which means they just submit it, it meets all the requirements, and then they move forward, and they don't have to necessarily get into all the questions of drainage and this, that, and the other thing, in which this case they would. It changes what they're trying to do, whether they got the approval from us or if they went the subdivision route. Drainage will be an issue that's addressed by other boards.
Okay.
Just to follow up on that, if I could, Mr. Chairman, because the lots aren't going to have frontage, we can't do this as an A&R plan. We actually have to go as a subdivision approval with the planning board. So that triggers the Board of Health review and CONSCOM and everything. So this will go through that formal process. And also, just for the record, and mention was made of the developer and the developer trying to make money or whatever, which developers do that, I guess. But the owner of this property is the Anderson family. They've been down there for many, many years, and they're trying to maximize the value of the property. Parents recently passed away, and the family's trying to get their legs under them, and so this is important to them, and this obviously increases the value of their lot if this were to go through and be approved one way or another. And frankly, that's something that this family has been relying on or planning for a number of years. So it's easy to blame it on the evil developers, I guess, because that makes sense. Somebody's trying to make money, but if you look behind that, you got the Anderson family, who's been good citizens of this town for a lot of years, and They're just trying to maximize the value of their property.
All right. So just to Mr. Healy, just, if we're looking at this and we're saying that there's going to be two houses there, if it were to move forward in that direction, what other concerns might you have?
Again, my main concern would be the privacy.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, that's my kid's bedroom, my bedroom, with floor-to-ceiling windows.
Even if it's about 200-plus feet away from your house, I mean, on any normal, lots where you have 100 feet of frontage, your neighbor wouldn't be that far away. So I'm just trying to get a better idea for like the feel of your perspective. And I guess on this picture too, I guess I wasn't really sure exactly what you said you thought the distance was between this.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't
Oh,
measure.
I thought you said 10 feet. That's why I was
Oh, I'm
confused.
sorry. No, I was 10 feet off of my deck. So that's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
okay.
like,
All right.
The perspective of the picture that they showed you,
Yeah,
I was just saying, I mean, obviously you're going to I took a picture to show my perspective.
Right.
To favor my side. Mm-hmm. When you take a picture standing behind a tree in full bloom, when I saw that was sent, I was like, well, that's basically just calling me a liar. When last I said,
yeah, if you mind passing that around.
but when the last time I said 6 months a year, it's really not a big deal. Never once did I lie. And then I get that in an email. It's like you're standing behind a tree, of course. Meanwhile, I can take 10 steps off my deck and I get a full view of your barn,
Yeah.
Whose house is this?
That must be
That's the
that's
existing
the
house.
existing, that,
Basically, this whole thing is I'm not looking forward to looking out my kitchen window, a yard that I take good care of, and just seeing a house in my backyard. And that's what these variances are for, I feel. I mean, these frontage laws.
Okay. Yeah, just as a counter argument, it could be done another way by right, which wouldn't have anything to do with a variance. So that's something that we need to take into consideration.
I mean, I was also told no matter what by, I don't know the gentleman's name prior to this, that, he basically showed up the picture and just told me that, seemed very upset that I was here to oppose it again. And he told me that if they get denied the variance, they'll go to the next meeting and I won't be allowed to be at that meeting anyways. So I don't understand.
I don't know why that wouldn't be the case.
But that's what I was-
These are public hearings.
That's what
so-
he told me, so.
I guess, no, I said that we're doing this as a courtesy. We showed screening.
Sorry, can I ask you just to come up to the microphone?
Yep. So before the meeting started, I asked him if he received the plans and if he has any question, any concerns that we can help him. He said there shows 5 evergreen. I said, that's just the static of what they put, is 25 feet distance. Obviously, it takes more than 5 evergreens to cover 25 feet of distance to cover the screening. I said, that was just put on by the surveyor to show that we're willing to accommodate more privacy for you. It doesn't necessarily mean there will be 5. And I said, this is more of a courtesy, and if we were to go to...
Is this the part you call me stupid?
Excuse me. Everyone will have a chance to speak. This is a public hearing. I want everyone, you will have a chance to say
What
something.
I told him was as by right, as Mr. Thomas had told me regarding putting the cul-de-sac, we could go that route, and it would still, we would potentially be able to get this done, but we're trying to be accommodative to you as far as what you want us to do. We're willing to put up a fence or evergreens just to get it. And then he said, well, the headlights, and I said, the way those driveways are, the headlights won't even be pointing to your house because of, as you see, the drivers are straight into the, right of the, as you're going, exiting the property. So those lights will not be hitting his property, and that was the conversation.
All right, thank you. Mr. Healy?
He left a point that he called me stupid for opposing this, so. It was just very hostile beginning, and that's what the point where I told him, I go, we can just wait for the meeting.
No, I mean,
I apologize.
excuse me, I don't really want to get into the conversations that you guys had outside of the hearing, because it's all he said, she said, and I don't want to get into arguments about that here. So I think we'll just leave it at that unless there's more facts about the case that we want to discuss.
That's all that we have as far as new submissions, Mr. Chair, is if there's any questions.
I think there might be other people from the public,
Okay.
unless Mr. Healy has any more comments.
Nope, all set.
Is there anyone else here from the public that would like to speak in favor or against this proposal?
I'm Frank Anderson. It's my parents' property we're trying to sell. And I'm for it. I don't have any griefs against the neighbors, but what the driveway is going in, I don't think is going to shine on his house at all. Because of where that property, it is a bowl towards the brook, so it's lower. And that's about it. Any questions about the property, I can answer you.
All right.
I was
thank
there
you.
Saturday, it was dry. After 15 days of rain, so out and back.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak in favor or against this proposal? All right, I'm going to leave the hearing open for now until we have a little bit more discussion on this. Anyone from the board have any other comments now?
Yeah, I got a question. I don't know if anybody got an answer here, but if we were to grant the easement, what steps are they bypassing through the planning board that would not protect Mr. Haley?
Well, as Tom mentioned, it's not a straightforward A&R really that they would be going for. They'd be going for a modified subdivision. So they would actually be submitting a subdivision plan. And correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, asking for a list of waivers from that because
Asking for a list of waivers, including putting in a new road and sidewalks and stuff
Right.
like that. And the subdivision plan would actually show the two lots, if this variance were granted, would show the two lots as they show here, but it'll show where the driveway is actually going to be and where the house is going to be. So it goes through the full subdivision approval. Engineering gets involved, Concom gets involved, Board of Health gets involved. There'll be drainage calcs, there'll be all of that, the usual stuff that you have whenever you subdivide property and you're going to develop it. So it's certainly a more substantive review than it would be if it was an A&R plan.
So they could potentially ask for a waiver, but the planning board doesn't need to grant them that waiver. Like if for example, if they were to ask for a waiver from
So we're
drainage
just-
calculations,
This vote they wouldn't need the waiver at that point. You wouldn't need a waiver for the cul-de-sac at that point.
No, with this vote, we wouldn't need a waiver for a cul-de-sac. But if you look at a subdivision plan with all the regulations that the town has, it has to show where the new roadway is going to be, where's the sidewalks, where are the streetlights, where's the fire extinguisher, fire hydrant. We'd ask for the waivers of that because we're not creating a new road.
And Mr. Haley would have, that much more say in it and probably
Oh, yeah,
more
they-
protection against, the planning board's gonna be more thorough process.
Absolutely, and they always add conditions, like similar to what you guys do. And if screening is an issue, which obviously it is, they'll get into that, and that'll be part of the approval process.
And the financial hardship, I didn't realize, you can go after hardship for finance.
Yeah, obviously, it's more from a construction standpoint, it would be more, plus from an engineering, if they were to go for just a straight subdivision approval, the engineering would have to come up with a cul-de-sac with all the stuff that goes into that. And then if we wanted to try to waive the cul-de-sac and just go with driveways, you'd have to have a second engineered plan showing that. So the process becomes a lot more cumbersome and a lot more expensive from the proponent standpoint if you go through a subdivision process on this without having the variances approved, which will allow the two lots to be.
Correct, and the stormwater would benefit
Oh, absolutely.
the abutter.
Yeah.
Plan-
Probably, and oftentimes it can correct issues that currently exist. The Anderson house has been there for 100 years, so, nothing's happened over there for a long time, so if there's runoffs going in whatever direction, you can, between all sorts of different drainage methods, you can kind of address those types of issues if they're out there.
I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
John?
I don't really have anything right now.
All right. Jim?
Tom, do you have that plan that you showed us last time with the, if we did go the cul-de-sac
Yeah,
route?
he's got it right
I
here.
just sent one up, I got some extra ones if you need some.
Thank you.
The second page on that, and I included that, it shows what the square footage of land that is needed to create a cul-de-sac in the size of the planning board regs. It's a little over 7,000, and we have 11,000 extra square feet of land after you allot 20 for each lot. So the reason I did that is just to show that the cul-de-sac can go in there. We have enough square footage for that. We still have an extra 3,000 roughly, so.
So, if I'm reading this correctly, if you did go the cul-de-sac route,
Yeah.
obviously the lot dimensions and
Yeah,
makeup is going to change, so
Correct.
in here you have the house actually pointing directly at your house.
yeah, that could result in that. You're right, just if you look at
Just
the
the
way
way
it's
the
configured here.
lot's shaped.
Because they're going to have to adjust the lot lines differently than would appear on the submitted plan. But yeah, that's a good point. I didn't look at that, but it does essentially orient the house going towards the neighboring lot.
Right, right. Thank you.
My comments right now are, I think, the screening we need to solidify, that, I think we need to have more information on that, have a solid, if we're gonna move forward with this, have a solid plan, as, said, 5 trees, evergreens, what type of evergreens, because everything's different, you have evergreens that only grow up to 10 feet, you have some that grow to 80 feet. So having some more information, a more detailed, proposal for that, I think would be important. I would honestly like to see a plan that shows where the wetland is, even if it's not on this lot, just to confirm that it's not on this lot.
I actually have that.
Okay.
I can send you a copy.
Yeah, if you could pass it around now and then send us a copy.
It's the same topo plan that I think I showed last year, and bordering vegetation. You can read it. But I can get you a copy of that, Mr. Chairman. What's that?
Bordering it right there.
Maybe, would you prefer that?
Well, according to this, it does come onto the lot.
It does, when you go down to the end of the driveway, getting towards the street, I believe it cuts across a little corner of it.
There's some in the front, and then there's some on the right-hand side. It kind of skims the edge. It's not a lot of square footage, but I would like to know what that number is, because it does impact actually how much
Right.
land you have, upland land you have, and, we are, if we were to approve this, we're granting a variance for frontage, but I want to make sure we're not missing out, missing a step and having to, providing a lot that doesn't actually have 20,000 square feet of upland.
I understand. Both of them, as presented here, the one on the front has a little over 20,000, there's no wetlands there. The one on the back has 31,000 square feet of land, and that little slice along the side where it encroaches just a little bit, clearly doesn't cover 11,000 square feet of land, so.
Right, but I'd also.
So I didn't make a point of, but you're right,
I'd like to know, what it does to these numbers too, because this is, as I would call it, a proof plan.
No, I understand.
Say that you can do it, so.
So basically, you'd like a hard figure for the amount of square footage that's within the wetlands.
That's on the lot, yeah.
That's on the lot.
I'd like to know what the upland number of and what it would affect on both of these plans. for what it would change the square footage of the lots, the upland square footage of the lots to be.
Okay.
I mean, the first, like, lot 1 or lot A, whichever, on
Yeah.
whichever plan, probably wouldn't change really.
Right.
But the second parcel would.
Right.
So I'd want to know that.
Okay, I can get a total square footage in, and then we can just do the math on the other one, because it's,
Yeah, that's fine. So, all right, so I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a more definitive answer on, I mean, I would like to see, personally, this is me, like, well, I guess it depends on the type of evergreens that you're talking about putting in there. I'd like to see something substantial. I'd like to see an evergreen tree as opposed to like an evergreen arborvitae, something that's gonna provide substantial.
Sure.
I wanna know what, the type of evergreen, the spacing, the typical, like, at full maturity spread and height of those trees, because I'm not an arborist. And I'd like to see it more, I'm open to suggestions, but preferably I'd like to see it more run along the lot line to provide screening as opposed to right here, just 'cause,
when you say run along, up, north
like
and
up and
south?
down the lot line this way.
Okay.
And probably spread out more than it is. Because this is, I mean, the way that this shows, yeah, it's screening in front of the house, but it's really kind of only screening like this front corner where you're gonna see this back corner and this back corner, so I just like to get a little bit more substantial on that. My other request would be for the applicant to consider, and I and the board can put some more thought into this as well, some kind of a commitment for a proposal on drainage mitigation above normal regulations. So, for example, if the regulations is say you have to mitigate 1-to-1 for runoff off the site, which is, I believe, the standard, a number that's maybe, higher than 1-to-1, to say that they're gonna mitigate, just to try to help alleviate concerns for drainage problems in an area where there's obviously a stream and a pond.
My only concern, I guess, if we're eventually gonna go before engineering and the Board of Health on this, they might have different ideas. And
Well, why don't you, as the applicant, why don't you kick that around a little bit, and I, in the meantime, will talk to a couple of these other boards and see if they have some suggestions.
along those lines, and this goes for the screening as well, because, we were just sitting here talking about it, we just said we do it, we didn't get into specifics, because nobody really knows what people want at this point. But whatever we put here, again, my concern is we get to the planning board and they have some different thing in mind, or a better way of doing it, or a different way of doing it. So I just throw this out there, that whatever we wind up agreeing to, if we do agree to something, there's language to the effect that maybe, unless amended by the planning board or something, I just don't want to go in with my hands tied to the planning board, and everybody comes up with a better idea than what we thought sitting here, but we can't do it because the variance says this is what you're gonna do.
I think we can work language like that. I think, if the planning board has a different idea, a better idea, or, something that.
And I'm thinking more, especially when the
Benefit
Board of
the
Health and engineering get involved, is when you start talking runoff and storm scepters and whatever else they want to
Right.
put in there.
I'm more worried about mitigating what's coming off the site, and I'm sure that's, the neighborhood's concern as well.
Yeah, and that's what that Board of Health does, so they'll clearly be.
But I'm
looking
just
at-
saying, maybe we could beef it up a little bit. Like, if we're avoiding the cul-de-sac, which is what we're doing on this level, then, we can look into a condition that kind of locks that in a little bit.
Okay, I'm not an engineer, and I hate to commit to an engineering finding of some sort without having an engineer say, oh, yeah, you can do that, or no, it's gonna be a problem, or whatever. So that's my only concern with that.
Okay.
So let's,
Yeah, we can think that over. Well, we're waiting for more information, so we're gonna continue, so.
and the only other thing, and I mentioned it last time, and I understand the board's gotta do a thorough review of this, is that this closing between my client and Mr. Anderson's family has been postponed a couple times because this is working its way through. And I know that's creating a hardship on some of them. So obviously, we're not going to get a vote this evening. We'd like to aim to hopefully get it wrapped up next time if we get you the information you're looking for. But I just ask the board to keep that perspective out there, just because it is creating a hardship for Mr. Anderson's family, because they need to close with us.
We will keep that in mind and try to move towards a decision at the next hearing.
So you'd like some, I mean, like I said, and not speaking for my client, but I think he'll put whatever kind of evergreen people think that should be there. I mean, we could pick one and somebody else might have a better idea. We really don't care.
Right. I'm just looking for it to be substantial, but more definitive of what we know, that we know what's going in there, and a fence was mentioned, so if that's something,
And he's happy to do that,
well, then that, if we could, I mean, it doesn't need to be necessarily shown on the plan, but if it's committed to in language, then,
Would it, if we commit to an evergreen that grows to a certain height, without getting into the Latin names?
Ideally, for me,
Or a fence that goes to a certain height, and let Mr. Healy, if he gets to that point, at his pleasure, or the planning board might have another idea or whatever, but
yeah, I don't think, for me, I think, a fence with a evergreen tree combination would be good, because usually, like, we have the evergreen tree, the bottom 6 to 8 feet really isn't screening
Okay.
once it, reaches maturity. So, ideally, from my perspective, it would be a fence plus a row of evergreen trees, not arborvitaes.
so,
But there are other alternatives there are some arborvitaes that grow to 25 feet, and if they're spaced correctly, basically create a wall.
right, yeah, no,
So I'm open, unless anyone else has other ideas, but we could leave that to you as well. You propose something to us.
okay. And for location, you'd kind of like that line to swing?
I think running along the property line is
The only problem with that, on the topo there, there's a little slice of the wetlands that extends in there someplace, so I'm not sure we can be putting trees in there.
yeah, you could come around that. If you're keeping the driveway on the left-hand side of the lot, you have room to run. Even if you said you were gonna run down the set point line, say, just as a point of reference,
Yeah.
something there, I think would provide more screening, say, I don't know, 100 feet worth of screening or more, I don't know what you would do with the fence necessarily. If you're gonna do a fence, I almost don't know if you'd do the whole lot line, but that's, I don't necessarily want to dictate exactly what you're gonna do, but I'm open to hear proposals.
All right, well, we'll try to beef it up a little bit and hopefully address some of the concerns, but I just would, I'm always reluctant to commit to a definite condition at this level that could potentially be changed later on, and then by having it in this decision, it essentially cancels the variance if the planning board wants to shift it someplace else.
I think we could add language to say, that the planning board could, potentially overrule that somehow. I don't want to necessarily just make it a recommendation to the planning board, as that has produced issues in the past between the two boards, so.
All right, I think I've heard you. Could I take that topo plan
Yes,
back from
if
you?
you could submit this to us, or even,
I'll get you a copy of that, but I just want to
yeah,
make sure I have it when I talk to the engineer. Thank you.
okay,
So when do you meet next?
August 3rd.
Okay.
So we're going to leave the public hearing open for now, so this will be continued to our meeting of August 3rd, so I will take a motion from the board.
Motion to continue 54 Francis Wyman to August 3rd.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded to continue 54 Francis Wyman Road to our next meeting of August 3rd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. All right, we will see you on the 3rd.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
think that's, oh. Was this a copy for the
Yeah, you
for the
can-
record? Thank you. Mr. Healy, do you want this picture back? Keep it for the record, thank you. Okay. The next item on our agenda is the minutes from our July 6th meeting. John and I were not here. I don't know, I've heard differing rules on whether people that weren't here can vote on minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you
The
said.
minutes,
The minutes.
if we weren't here, can we vote on the minutes?
Oh, no.
Even though we watched,
Oh, you watched it, yes.
Yeah, okay, all right.
That's right, you watched it.
I've heard varying reports
As long as-
on that topic.
As long as you watched it, you
Yeah,
can do it.
okay. All right, has everyone reviewed the minutes from July 6th?
Yes.
Take a motion.
Take a motion to approve the minutes from July 6th.
Motion is made and seconded to approve the minutes from the meeting of July 6th. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Does anyone have any other business? Hearing none, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
second.
Motion is made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 4-0. Meeting adjourned.